So today is the 24th day of May, 2025.
Yeah,
It's 24.
24.
And it's about, what do you think? 3 o'clock? Almost 3 o'clock in the
Yeah,
afternoon?
it says 5 to 3 on the clock.
So this is the middle of Mirth Mission 20, almost the middle of it. 2025-05.
Yeah, it's coming right along.
So it's a 4-day mission, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Starting to gain some momentum with these constructs.
Uh-huh.
I was just talking about my friend Joe Larson. We were talking about, you said something that was interesting to me that we've talked about a little bit before, and that's holding the frame of mind in a particular state of consciousness. And I find that it's tricky to get people to think about states of consciousness and what's going on there. So I thought we'd try, so Joe, the thing that you said that prompted me is I remember Joe saying more than once, it's like, there's probably a lot of monks and nuns in monasteries around the globe all the time, holding a certain, I think you said, would you say frame of mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so go ahead.
So if we're surrounded by whatever it is all around us, which is almost all invisible,
Yeah,
like the magnetic field is invisible, gravitational field is invisible, the air we breathe is for the most part invisible, and the light is invisible when there isn't any, when it's dark. But we're surrounded by the vibrations of all those things. They all vibrate. They all have different polarities. So what I was talking about was the conscious energy field that we're in. We is a word that can be modified a little bit by realizing that in the world of things there's only one. There's a oneness.
yeah,
Everything is, Deepak Chopra says, like the human body, there's 6, I don't know whether he uses billion or trillion biochemical events going on every second, and every one of them knows what the other part is doing. So when we take that into the human element of ourselves, some part of each one of us knows what every other person and living thing is doing on the planet. Every tree, every ant, every bee, we're connected through this conscious energy field, which is made up of nothing that we can see or feel. It's pre-verbal. It's space. It's what holds the space. So that every thought of every person is in the streaming part, diffused conscious energy field. So it's like a river with all these different currents, all these different eddies, vertical underneath, the twists and turns, and they tend to join each other as a swirl, or like the hurricane does, and the tornado. Why does all that air all of a sudden get together and do that? Well, and then disperse.
yeah,
So if that's the energy, that's all anything, everything is, we find out, is energy. It's something doing something. And it is consciousness at play. And so feeding into the conscious energy field is every thought that everything has on the planet. That's the way I look at it. And there'll be like things join like things, and there'll be streams of that. And if you're susceptible to any particular type of stream, because that happens to be a weak point in yourself or a side eddy, you can intercept that whether you know it or not.
yeah,
So thoughts of love or peace or anything can accumulate. And so, like you were mentioning, the nuns and all the priesthoods usually have a very narrow way of absorbing the spiritual aspect of their particular place. So what are they doing with it? Well, if it's in your consciousness, you're radiating it out into the field. So if that gets stronger than some of the other eddies that may might not be carrying to the human element a pleasantness, it can overwrite that.
Yeah.
You can change hate into love, non-caring into caring, lack into, into supply.
Yeah.
So by consciously picking those particular aspects that are what do we say, that are positive or growing or evolutionary, we can overwrite the things that have been holding society and countries, if you want to, and people behind. Behind what? Well, behind being free of things that stop them from being who and what they really are.
Yeah.
So that's how I see so much of that. If I bring that to any discussion that I hear or talk about, and it helps to have that bounce off other people and see what color they can bring to that for me.
Well, so you also I want to talk a little bit about quality of attention, because when you say who they really are, who I really am,
Yeah.
how do I know?
Well, that's where you have to assume that you're the one. What do you know about the one?
So I'm not so sure that so you
That's tough.
that's a hard place to I don't know how anybody starts with that.
Can't.
So which means that what that implies is that initial draw, so to speak, to who you truly are has to come from outside of yourself.
Yes. So religions have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, it seems like that's what they're designed for.
Yeah. So let's just take, what did Jesus say about it? A lot of people know about Jesus because of the Christian world. He said, I'm not doing any of this. It's the Father within me.
Yeah.
And anything I can do, you can do better. Yeah. Oh, well, feed on that for a while. How long will it take you to realize that, that's me as well?
Yeah.
The same Father in Jesus is the same Father as is in me. So he must be in everybody. And the Father is the only one. And I'm it. Which gives me a great deal of responsibility.
Yeah.
So you can treat that whatever way you like. So if you can bring that to the boardroom or any type of discussion that other people even bring up. We had one Friday, a fellow had a question like that. He said, well, when we die, what really happens is, do we leave or what happens? The people that already seem to have died, are they still around us? You see?
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of evidence of people seeing, people that have passed away.
Yeah.
Or the dead at one time when they considered dead came to them in a dream or in words. So we know that there is that connection. So if there's only one, well, you're both the polarities of what we call aliveness and deadness. Yeah. Deadness to the people that are alive is just a loss of communication. One line of communication.
One line, yeah.
Doesn't mean all the other lines of communication have gone. You can still feel love for your passed away thing, or the exasperation of not getting that stuff done before I kicked off. See?
Yeah. So it seemed like there was one more thing that I wanted to try to tie off on here. I wanted to come back to you and I watched a little bit on YouTube. I want to relate this to the dialogue that we were having earlier about the tuning the intuitive sense.
Uh-huh.
So just like with with religion, like you just said, that religion's essentially, well, they look to me like they're designed to basically,
Focus.
yeah, structure your mindset.
Yeah.
And they're very powerful in that regard.
Yeah.
For those who participate in them. Now, there's this phenomena that I've come to learn to refer to as secular, where it's something like as far away from religious as you can get, which is, I won't try to split hairs on that, because I guess fundamentally, I tend to think of religion as the way that everybody orients, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
So you can call it something else. So I guess the secular is the limit of calling it something else, is about as good as it gets for me. Okay, so even so, there's a secular phenomena. You're not explicitly addressing religious thought, I guess, when you're operating in a secular domain.
That's right.
And we watched a little YouTube bit about some guys that wrecked a Cessna, what was it?
Citation.
A little citation in San Diego, you said a couple days ago?
Yeah.
And was that an airline pilot that was doing the post operation, or is he?
I don't know that part.
So somebody was doing the post hoc. Somebody was doing the analysis.
Oh, yeah, the guy was, yeah. He was dressed up like an airline pilot.
Yeah. Basically walking the audience through
What happened?
what happened in a few moments, really. And what you and I were talking about earlier was the fact, it seems, that an individual has to be put in a circumstance where they're responsible for at least their own, like it's a life and death circumstance
Right.
in a specific, very short temporal frame, as in not very much time, and as well as so that's the minimum, and then by extension there, it's like, okay, now you're also responsible for other bodies, and without that experience of going through that, my proposition is that you just simply you're never going to train your intuitive sense as well as you could if you did participate in those types of experiences. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah. The more that you experience that aspect where you make that choice, where you've set yourself, in aviation,
Which
they do
choice?
call it minimum. You fly the airplane to the last chance to make a choice, to either land the airplane or get out of the way. And at that precise moment, you have to assess, is it safe to land or not? And you can gamble and say, I'm not sure, and try it. And that's what happens with a lot of the airplane problems, where people crash. And the one real time that I had was at the same type of airport down there in San Diego. I was the co-pilot then, 727. The captain was kind of leader. He just goes along to get along. And we did an approach to the airport and got to minimums, and it wasn't quite right to land, so we went around. You call it going around. You power up the airplane, climb it back up to a certain altitude, circle around, come all set up again, have everything all ready, and start down to the runway. You have some guidance to get you exactly 50 feet over the end of the runway, lined up with the center of the runway, if you've flown the airplane to tolerance. And out of that, you can land, if you can see what to do. Electronically now, where airplanes land by themselves, they determine with the electrical signal, yeah, it's okay to land. The person doesn't even have to see it. You don't even, that's how they get the drones and everything home. They don't care anymore. They've got the precisely set up electronically. But so the time that I did, I was second in command, but I'm also in charge of making sure all those people in the back get home. And we got to a place in this second time the approach, and the captain said, "Oh yeah, there it is, he's going to land." But it wasn't lined up exactly the way it should be, which would mean it 2 turns in 200 feet. And to me, my mind is already made up. If you're not where you belong, I'm not going anywhere except back up into the sky. And so you can do that driving in your automobile, working at home, working with power tools. You're not going to move the knife that way towards my hand or anything, and have that already made up. You got your limits. And then when you find yourself even on those small little things like I've had in my lifetime, oh, that doesn't really matter, and then it did.
Yeah.
And so that gives you some believing power that, yeah, I cannot go past where I've set the limit in your own mind. And that's what makes that aspect of intuitiveness mature to the point where it's going to be like this, whether I like it or not, at any time. That deer runs out in front of me, it's going to get hit.
Yeah.
That's already,
I'm already committed.
Yeah, you're committed ahead of time to the positive aspect of how you want it to turn out. Oh, golly. Yeah, and so this thing with the conscious energy field that I work with, I guess it's kind of like being in the river of everything. All the flotsam and jetsam coming down the river, and what are you experiencing? Over here in the side eddy, or if you take the boat out, you're going to get hit with a log or a piece of debris or something.
Yeah.
And the stream is taking humanity along in the evolutionary trail.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking a little bit of time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks.
It's always good to emphasize that in my own mind. Yeah.
Thank you for your very careful attention.
Stay out late now and have a good time.